Guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today we're going to come in here and discuss the new Too Faced Love, what's it called? Natural Love palette. I couldn't remember the name of it. It's the Natural Love palette. I love the way this palette feels. It feels very, very nice. The outside texture, like the design of it, reminds me of, what is it, Peter Cottontail. It reminds me of the storybooks that we used to read as kids. I just think it's very cute, and it's a very whimsical looking palette. It looks like spring. Just the packaging design itself I think is really, really nice. Now when you do get this palette, you do get, let me pull the box over here. You do get a box that looks like this, and on the back of it's going to show you all the different shadows that you're getting inside. And then down at the bottom here, it's also going to give you ingredients. So if you want to look up the ingredients on this palette, you have to keep the packaging, because on the back of the palette it does not show the ingredients. You're going to need to keep the packaging in order to see the ingredients. So if there's something in it that you could possibly be allergic to, right there's where you're going to find that detail. And then also inside of here, Too Faced is always really cool about giving you some ideas about, hey, you know, these are some ideas that we think that might work for you, or they might not work for you, whichever way. But they give you inside of here a little book that's going to give you plenty of different eye looks that you can get some inspiration from. So that's really cool. I like that they do that. This palette, now, I will tell you, has 30 different eyeshadows in here, and there are 3 different textures. They're labeling them as 7 mattes, 13 shimmer, and 10 sparkle. I have to look. I have tons of notes I've taken on this palette because I've been using it over time. And as I've been using it, I've been taking notes little by little. So over there, I can give you guys as much information about this palette as I possibly can. So you can come here as like your one-stop shop, but don't make it your one-stop shop. Go out and look at everybody else's videos too that are making on this palette. Because I feel like if you're going to base your opinion on one person's opinion, you might not be happy. I think you should always base your opinion on a variety, and then also your own. Go check it out in the store if you can get it. It will be available in store too. So I would go in there and check it out, like swatch it, see how it feels for you. So anyway, inside of here, let's talk about the sizing and everything. It does have a 12-month expiration on this. And this says it was made in, wait a minute, let's see where it was made at. It was assembled in the Dominican Republic, and the bulk of it was made in the USA. So it says Dominican Republic in the USA. So if you're curious about where this palette was made, that's where it was made. And then inside of here, you are getting the net weight of 0.8 grams, which is 0.03 ounces. And that's for each shadow. So each shadow is 0.8 grams. And then so your total weight is 24 grams. So that's a pretty good size of product. So let's go ahead and open this up. You guys are probably curious what it looks like on the inside. It does come with a mirror inside of here. Mine's really filthy. So it does come with a mirror, and it does fold all the way back, which I love. I love when a palette folds all the way back, because then I can kind of set it on my vanity and then work with it like you would an artist palette. So it sits out like an artist palette. So there are 30 shades in here. They're not sectioned off as far as like, here's the mattes, here's the shimmers, here's the whatever. It's not sectioned off like that. It's kind of all thrown together, but it's kind of thrown together in a way that it's like color coordinated. So the lighter and then you get darker. So I really kind of like that too. But sometimes I don't like that. I don't know. I think that's one of those things you kind of, I don't know. I think that's one of those things that depends on the person. I like how Lorac sets theirs up, where Lorac is half matte, half shimmers, or whatever their types are. I feel like that's pretty cool too. So I just think that that's all personal opinion. However you feel like you like this, if you like it set up like this, or if you like it set up more like Lorac does it, you have to kind of base it on that. Now, as far as swatching this, I think it swatches beautifully. There is one shade in here that I will warn you, it swatches horribly. And that is the shade Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale doesn't swatch good. It doesn't wear well. It's very, very chunky. It's a very, very chunky shade. I don't like the shade on my eyes. I don't like the shade swatched. I think it's a horrible shade. I wish they would have kind of like X'd that shade out. But other than that, I mean, you've got 29 other shades to deal with. So I still think you've got plenty in here to create many eye looks. I think you can use this palette to create a more natural type of eye look, which is called a natural palette. Natural Love. And I think you can go a little bit more bold, because today I went a little bit more bold using this palette. So I think you can go a variety of different ways with it. I really do love this palette. I'm going to tell you guys already up front, I love this palette. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and swatch these, and as I'm swatching them, I'm going to read you guys all of the information that I have learned about this palette as I've been using it and loving it, and then knowing, okay, what shades are going to work and then what shades do not work, and how they feel and how they swatch and things like that. So let's push this little paper here back. And the first shade in here is your matte shade. So this is your first shade, is going to be a matte, and it's called Heaven. And Heaven feels very, very good to touch. I love the way that their mattes feel. They feel super buttery. So here is Heaven. Heaven swatches beautifully. I love the way that Heaven swatches. To me, it's a really good matte shade. I think it blends well. It's a really good shade to put down as your first color. Like say you're putting down something to cover your primer, to set your primer. It works really well for that. The next shade is Lace Teddy. Lace Teddy is another matte. And Lace Teddy is like a baby pink. Like a, did you like that? It's like a baby pink. And again, this is another great shade. I really do like this one. So I think it swatches well enough for a matte. I mean, mattes are never going to swatch where they're like, whoa, that's like really great. Because mattes are a little bit, I mean, it's a powder. It's a powder product. So it's going to swatch a little bit powdery looking. So they do have a little bit of kick up too. That's the other thing. Some of the more matte shades have a little bit of kick up. But the more shimmery pearl shades, they don't really have that kick up. The next shade is Pink Cheeks. And Pink Cheeks is also a good shade. This is a sparkle shade. It does have tiny sparkles in here. I'm not sure that you'll see them or not, but it does have some tiny sparkles into it. But it's really, really beautiful. So that is Pink Cheeks. The next one is Poodle. And Poodle is an iced shade. That's what they call it, an ice shade. Not sure what the heck that means, but if you guys know, maybe you know more than I do. So there is Poodle. I like this shade. This is the shade I'm actually wearing. It's got a lot of sparkle in that one. Can you see all the sparkle? But it doesn't fall into your under eyes or anything like that. I have that in my inner corner today. That's what I'm wearing, my inner corner. Really like the way it looks. Now we're down to Spotlight. Spotlight is more of like to me it looks like a camel color, but it's like a butter yellow. That's what it looks like. It looks like a butter yellow. So here's Spotlight. And Spotlight is a nice matte shade and it swatches really well. It wears really well. I really do like the shade as well. So there's another great shade in this palette. So far for me, in my opinion, I feel like the whole first row is really, really good. So one row, super good. Now we're getting to the crappy shadow. So here is Fairy Tale, and I'm going to swatch it close so you can see it. See how it's like textured and like it's very, very soft when you touch it. Like it wants to like push in a little bit. So this is Spotlight. Spotlight is super, super messy. I'm going to swatch it up close so you can see how pretty it swatches. That one just is no good in my opinion. I feel like that one is just no. That's so messy, so chunky. You're really going to need to set that with a glitter glue. Otherwise, it's just not going to work that well for you. I don't really like it. I'm probably never going to use that shade, to be honest with you. Now we're down to Satin Sheets. Satin Sheets is oh wait, you know what? We'll go back in the end and I'll tell you which ones are in which. So this is Satin Sheets, and Satin Sheets looks like that. I did do a 2 swatch there because it felt like it was chunking up there on me, but I think that might have been just me because I had too much on my finger. And this is what is this considered? Considered a golden shade. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. So they're calling it a golden shade. I do see a little bit of gold sparkle into it, but I'm not sure why they call it a golden shade. I've never heard somebody describe a shade as a golden shade. I've heard sparkles, I've heard pearls, I've heard satins, I've heard shimmers. So we're down here to Kitten now, and Kitten's like a lilac purple. And Kittens is a gold, they call this a golden shade as well. Again, I'm not sure what the heck that means when they say golden shade, but you may know more than I do. So this is they call it a light rose gold, but for me, I feel like it's more of like a lilac color. I think it's a lilac shade. And I think this one wears really well too. This is on the center. No, it doesn't. Not today. It's not. It's on the under eye. It's on the outer part of my under eye. I wore this on the center the other day, and that's what I was thinking of because I really loved it on the center. And now we're down to Cutie Patootie. Cutie Patootie is like a rose gold. It's really, really pretty. Very, very, like when you touch it, it feels a little bit buttery, but it does peel up a little bit. So here is Cutie Patootie. So there's what Cutie Patootie looks like. Very, very pretty. Look at that color. That is just beautiful. And they call this a shimmer. I think it's a really good one though. I feel like it's smooth and buttery and it wears really nice on the eyes. It looks really good on the center eyelid again. I love all these bright like pops of color in the center of my eyelid because I think that really brightens up your look. Now we're down to Honey Butter, and Honey Butter is smooth and buttery just like butter. And it is a matte shade. So here is what Honey Butter looks like. Honey Butter is in a lot of palettes. You've probably heard Honey Butter in many of them. I really like this shade. I think it's a good transition shade. I think it's a good, there's tons of, not tons, but there are 7 matte shades in here. So you have shades to choose from to use for your transition, to use as your setting for your primer. So there are shades to choose from. Now out of this row, I would say that you got 4 out of the 5 is good. So far the palette's pretty good. Now we're over to Nudie, and Nudie is a matte shade, and Nudie is like almost like a gray brown to me in my opinion. So there is Nudie, and this is a matte shade of course. So there's what Nudie looks like. I really like that shade as well. So for me so far, again, like I said, I like this palette's really good. Now we're down to Push Up. Push Up's very, very soft and buttery. Reminds me of Cutie Patootie the way it feels. And you're going to see how buttery this looks when you swatch it. Look how beautiful that shade is. And it's got a little bit of a sparkle to it. And Nudie, they're calling this a, what? No, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Push Up. We're at Push Up, not Nudie. I was like, wait a minute. They're calling this a pearl. So they say it's a pearl. I think it's more of like a, I don't know. It looks like a satin or something to me, in my opinion. But then again, I think they can call a shade a whatever shade. And we're going to be like, wait, what does that mean? Because like they're calling some of these golden shades. And I'm just not exactly sure what that even means. Now we're down to Bunny Nose. Bunny Nose is like this pretty pink. It reminds me of Barbies for some reason. I don't know why, but this reminds me of Barbies. So here is Bunny Nose. Bunny Nose, really, really pretty. I like that shade. And this they consider a pearl as well. And I feel like this is another really good shade. I don't really find too many shades in here that are bad. I think this palette is very, very good, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Now we're down to Dear Diary. Dear Diary is, again, these three right here are very similar in texture and the way that they feel, the way that they swatch. And this is Dear Diary. So there is Dear Diary. You see a little bit of chunking on that, but that's because it is, I did have quite a bit on my finger. So if you smooth this out, if you smooth that out, it goes away. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to go in so quick. Smooth it out, it looks nice and beautiful on the swatch. I just feel like that's a really nice shade as well. Now we're down to Honeymoon. And Honeymoon, I can't say that word. Honeymoon is like a melon shade. And it again feels like these, but this one has a little bit of texture to it. I feel like there's a little bit of texture in it, but it's not bad. So there's what it looks like. And again, if you smooth it out, you can make it look even better. I think it makes it look even more beautiful, in my opinion. Okay, so in that row there, I feel like you had all good shades. My opinion again, I feel like that was really good. So far out of all of these 15 shades, the only one in my opinion that's bad is Fairy Tale. Now we're up to Tickle Me, and Tickle Me feels a lot like the others, but this one's got a little bit more chunk to it. Like when you touch it with a finger, you're going to see, let me see if I can show you up close. Up there in the corner, do you see where it's kind of built up, where it's a little bit chunky up there? I feel like this one's a little bit more chunkier when you touch it, but when you put it on your eyes, it doesn't do that. I think it works beautifully on the eyes. So it's just one of those things. I think sometimes finger swatches don't work quite as well as what it looks on the eyes. I will be using this in a Get Ready With Me in the video here so you guys can see it. But I'm also going to be using this in one of my Makeup Basket Mondays. So I'm going to be doing multiple eye looks with it. So I'm going to try to do 3 eye looks that week. So there you guys can see not just the eye look that you're going to see today, but 3 more eye looks. So if you're interested in seeing that. Now we're down to Honey Pot, and Honey Pot feels very, very smooth and buttery. I guess all the honey shades, and they just feel so good. They feel like butter. So there is Honey Pot. Honey Pot is beautiful. Look at that shade. That is gorgeous. I love that shade. That is actually on the center of my eyelid today. I am wearing Honey Pot. Love that. Now we're down to Moonbeam, and Moonbeam is just like Honey Pot, nice, smooth, and buttery. And Moonbeam is a pearl, and so is Honey Pot. I'm sorry, is a metallic. They're calling it a metallic, not a pearl. So these are your metallic shades. I have to look at my notes. My notes are like getting a little wonky here. So that is a metallic. Now we're down to Coffee Date, and Coffee Date is a copper shade, and it's very, very beautiful. Look at this swatch. Oh my gosh, I love shades like this. To me, that's like what makes eyeshadows beautiful. I just love shadows like that. They're so pretty. They wear really well. This one's very staining though, so I will tell you that. When I swatched this one the first time when I was playing with it, I was like, whoa, Nelly, that's a lot of pigmentation. So I need to go in with a little micellar water here and clean my hand off really well so your guys aren't getting disrupted swatches. Now we're down to the last shade in this row here, and it's Hot and Bothered. And this is like a rose copper. It's like a rose, like what is that? No, is that a rose copper? I don't know. What do they call it? It's a shimmer shade, but they don't describe it as anything. And for me, in my opinion, I feel like it's a rose copper. So here's what it looks like on my finger. And then swatch. Look how beautiful that is. That is just gorgeous. And this is another one that's going to stain. So once I start removing this, let me show you. I'll do it without the micellar water first. I'll show you how bad it stains. Do you see how this one really, really stains? This one stains really bad. So some of these will stain pretty good. So if you're going to be playing with these, just know that they do stain. You're going to want to have some sort of micellar water or something near you so you can clean up your fingers as you're playing in these shades. Now we're over to the next row, and it's Don't Settle. Don't Settle is a nice smooth buttery texture just like the Honey Pot and Moonbeam. But this one has some sparkle into it. I'm not sure you'll be able to see it, but I'll try to get you to be able to see the sparkle that's in there. And that's probably not so good because my hand was a little bit wet right there. So there is Moonbeam, or I'm sorry, Don't Settle. So there's Don't Settle, and that looks like almost like a, you guys briefly cut off on me. My battery died and I didn't even know it. I was so excited talking about this palette. So we were on Don't Settle. Don't Settle is, they're calling it a gilded shade, which I'm not even sure what gilded means. If you guys know what that means, then let me know, because is that what they're calling it? Wait a minute. Let me double check my notes here, guys. Metallic. They're calling it metallic. Okay. Why am I losing my marbles today? So they're calling it a metallic shade. So in their mind, they say it's a metallic. I don't really know about textures and colors and a whole lot right now. I can just tell you how it works and how it feels. That's my gist of it. So there, now we're down to Chocolate Martini. Chocolate Martini is textured. Now, I will tell you, when you touch Chocolate Martini, it feels like it's a little bit gritty, but it goes on beautifully. And I think the reason why it's gritty, my hand is a little bit wet. Let's make sure it's nice and dry here before we put that on. The reason why I think it's gritty is because of all the sparkle that's in it. If you can see the sparkle that's in there, it's very, very beautiful. I love the sparkle that's in there. It's got like these tiny gold sparkles, but they don't fall out, which is really, really nice, because I know sometimes when I put these sparkles on, I'm like, oh geez, now we're going to have a huge mess under my eyes. And I've already done my face makeup, so now we've got to go back and redo my face makeup. Now we're down to Love Bug. Love Bug is nice and smooth and buttery, just like Honey Pot and Moonbeam. So Love Bug is like a purple shade. Let's make sure my hand's nice and dry here. So here it is swatched. Of course, my hand's not completely dry. There we go. Love Bug is really, really pretty. It's like a purple shade, and they call this a gilded shade. So this is one of the shades that they're considering gilded, which I'm not sure what gilded means. So let's move it around a little bit. Maybe you guys can tell me, hey, that's what gilded means. So there you go. That's really, really pretty. Again, I think they swatched beautifully. Now we're down to Spoiled, and Spoiled is nice and soft and creamy, just like the other two shades I just recently talked about. And this is like a chocolate brown. It looks almost like milk, not milk chocolate, definitely not milk chocolate. It looks just like a chocolate brown. And then they call this one a pearl. So this is a pearl shade. Really do like these textures. Oh my gosh. This palette, I can't decide now which palette I'm taking with me on vacation, but I have no idea. I really love this one. Now we're down to Makeup and Chill, and Makeup and Chill is a matte shade, and it's like a reddish brown. So there is Makeup and Chill. Really do like that shade too. That shade is actually in the Nikkie Tutorials palette, if you guys are familiar with that. But I can tell you the shades are the exact same from the Nikkie Tutorials palette. So if you don't have the Nikkie Tutorials palette and you're wanting that shade right there, it's there. Now we're over to Fingers Crossed. Fingers Crossed is a little bit textured again, but you're going to see why it was textured. It's got those sparkles in it again. So here's the sparkles that you're going to see in there. Do you see the sparkles in that? Oh, so pretty. So this is Fingers Crossed, and it's got, what are they call them micro sparkles, and they call this a gilded shade again. So this is a gilded shade, which again, you guys have to tell me what the heck gilded means. I don't even know. Don't ask me. Now we're down to Undercover. Undercover is another one that's a little bit textured, but the reason why I feel like they're textured, like gritty feeling, is because of the sparkles. This one does have purple sparkles into it. Oops, my hand's not all the way dry. There we go. So it does have some purple sparkles into it. I really do like this shade. And again, the sparkles don't fall out as you're using this. I don't feel like I get them up under my eyes or anything. I just think that's really pretty. I think that would look really pretty all up on the outer parts of your eyes. Actually, that's what I did use today. And the sparkles don't fall out. So if you can see it on my eyes, that is what I'm wearing. I love that shade. Now we're down to Smokin', and Smokin' is like a gunmetal gray, and Smokin' feels a little bit not textured like where the sparkles are. This one just feels a little bit rough to the touch, but it swatches beautifully. Let's make sure my hand is nice and dry here. So this is Smokin'. So there's Smokin' swatch, really, really pretty. And they consider Smokin' a sparkle shade. So there is Smokin'. Really do like this one. Really, like I said, guys, the only shade in here that I'm just not happy with is the shade Fairy Tale. So for me, I'm just going to continue to say I really do like this. I really do like this because the palette's really that good in my opinion. Now we're down to Night Fever. Night Fever does have some sparkle into it again, so it's going to feel that gritty texture again. But this is like gold sparkle. It's almost like a gold and green sparkle though in my opinion. So there is Night Fever. And you guys are seeing that I'm swatching these with no primer or anything. These are just basic swatches with my fingers. And I just feel like they swatch beautifully. That one will stain a little bit if you do not have micellar water to clean it up with. So that one will stain. And the very last shade in the palette is Stiletto. And Stiletto is a matte black shade. So there is Stiletto. I don't feel like this is the best black shade I've ever tried, but I don't think it's horrendous. So here is Stiletto. So it's a little bit patchy, but it's nothing bad. It's nothing where it's not usable. I don't typically use like a boatload of black around my eyes in the first place. Basically, I take the black up underneath my eyes, or I'll use it as an eyeliner or something like that. So for me, I'm okay with it looking like that. It's not terrible. It's not the best quality either. So that's the only problems I have with this palette. I forgot to tell you guys which shades are in other palettes. So there you had a little bit of information as to, okay, the shades in this palette and the shades in that palette. So let's jump into that real quick. I forgot to do that part. So the first shade, Lace Teddy. So let's get back here. Lace Teddy is in the Natural Matte palette. Sorry, it's very... Lace Teddy over here is in the Natural Matte palette, and it is in here. So there is Lace Teddy in here, and they swatch the exact same. If they swatch the same, I'm not going to re-swatch them because I'll just tell you, hey, they swatch the same. If I feel like there's any difference, then I'll swatch them and show you what I feel like there's the difference about them. So that one I feel like swatches the same. So let me look at my notes real quick so I can find the next one that is in the palette. Oh, Nudie. Nudie is in the Natural Matte palette as well. And Nudie is over here. And then I'm showing Nudie as they're not the same. So Nudie is not the same as in the Natural Matte palette. So Nudie in the Natural Matte palette is this one down here at the bottom. And then of course here it's at the top right there. So I'll swatch both of these side by side so you can see the difference. So first we'll grab one from here. Here's Nudie from here. And here it is swatched. So there's Nudie. And then I'm going to wipe my finger, and then we're going to go over to here and we're going to grab Nudie down here. And then you'll see what I feel is the difference, and hopefully you'll see the difference just as good as I can. Make sure I don't double swatch here. So there we go. Do you see the difference? This one's a little bit more like a reddish brown, and this one's more of like a gray brown. In my opinion, I feel like the one in the Natural Matte palette looks a little bit more gray, and the other one looks a little bit more like a not really a reddish tone, but it has a little bit more pink into it, I guess. So in my opinion, I feel like these two are not the same. So if you were thinking, okay, I'm not going to get that because that Nudie shade or whatever, then they are not the same. So just so you know. Now the next one that are together in the same things, we have Satin Sheets. Satin Sheets is in the Boudoir palette. So here is Satin Sheets here, and oh, they're different too. So Satin Sheets here, we'll swatch it first. So here is Satin Sheets from here, and then we'll grab the Boudoir Eyes palette, and here's Satin Sheets here. So we'll swatch it from here, and we'll go ahead and show you guys the difference. So can you see the difference? One looks a little bit more pink and one looks a little bit more peach. So there is a difference. The colors are not the exact same. They may have named the shades the same, but they're not the same in my opinion. Again, that's my opinion. If you feel like they look the same to you, then you know, everybody's entitled to their opinions. I guess that's what we should say, right? Now we have, let's see, what else do we have here that's the same? Hot and Bothered. No, that's not in there. Sorry guys. I should have been a little bit more better prepared here, but I didn't. The only other one I'm going to tell you guys about is Makeup and Chill. Makeup and Chill is actually here, and then it's also in the Nikki Tutorials palette. So, and they swatch the exact same. I don't see any difference to these whatsoever. So if you were interested in getting the Nikki Tutorials palette, this one right here, here's what it looks like on the inside. And let me see if I can fold it back. Nope. Whoop, I'm about to drop it. Oh my goodness, I need another hand here. So I can't get it folded back. So Makeup and Chill is over here in the corner right here near my thumb where my dirty fingers are. And then Makeup and Chill, and here is here. So they are the exact same shade. So just so you know, these are the exact same shade. So other than that, those are the swatches. And now we're on to the little eye look. It's not a tutorial, it's just a little eye look using this palette. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, we're going to start doing a little get ready with me using the palette now. So we have the palette right here. This is the Natural Love palette. So let's get started into this little get ready with me. I am going to do just kind of like a basic eye look today. Nothing real crazy, but enough to where you can see how these colors are going to work for you if you're interested in this palette. I will tell you that if you are interested in this palette, the light just got a little bit brighter. I turned on my light so I can see for myself what I'm doing. But I will tell you, if you are interested in this palette, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I don't really see too many flaws in the palette. I know a lot of people are saying different things about it, but I don't see the flaws. I think that I think a lot of times people get caught up in what other people say, and then they kind of form their opinions on what other people say. So you have to kind of touch this and feel this and look at it for yourself and form your own opinion. Don't go by what other people say. Don't go by exactly what I say. You need to listen to a bunch of people, not really listen, but like watch other people and see how it works for them, and then also go check it out for yourself. So let's get started on the get ready with me though, before I mumble too long here. So I'm going to use my MAC Painterly Paint Pot because you guys know this is my favorite eye primer. It's not necessary to use a white base primer with this eyeshadow. I don't feel it's necessary. I mean, if you want to amp the volume of the look up, you probably can do it that way. But I feel like the shadows work just fine by using your normal eye primer. Whatever eye primer that you typically like. Whoa, what is that? Oh, nice. We got something going on already. Something going on already. Had to check to make sure the mic was on. You guys don't know how many times I've sat down to record a video and then realized the mic was off, and then I'm like, oh, nice. I've got like half of the footage that's no good now. So here's the eye primer. It's on. Nice and easy. I love this eye primer. You guys know that. That's like my favorite eye primer that I own. I think it's like the best out of all the primers that I own. So now I'm going to reach over here and try to find my color switch. Okay, I found my color switch so I can clean off my brushes as we go along. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here into the top shade, which is Heaven. And Heaven is a matte shade, so I'm going to go in here and just tap my brush into it. Tap off a little bit and then use this to lay down to kind of set my primer. So that's all we're doing right now is just setting the primer. Go again. Do the other eye. And we have a nice little mark right, whatever that is going on here. That's cute. So I really do think this palette works very nicely though. So I think a lot of people, like I said, I think they're forming their opinions on other people's opinions, and that's never a good idea. Don't form your opinion on what other people say. And I know that's what a lot of YouTubers do. We come in here to show you guys how these products work. But I think if you're seeing a lot of negative and then a lot of positive, then you probably know for yourself that, hey, you know, something's not right here. Something's a little off. And I've heard that there are different versions of the palette going around, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't know. Now I'm going to go up here to Nudie. I'm going to use that to use for my transition, and Nudie is another matte shade. I really like using matte shades for my transition colors because I feel like it works the best, especially with me with my aging skin, my aging eyelids. You guys are really zoomed out far, so let's get you guys in a little bit closer. Let's see if we can get you. Is that better? Now you can see a little bit better what I'm doing here. I'm not doing a tutorial, so don't think that I'm saying that I am a makeup artist. So I'm just showing you how a normal everyday person like myself can use this palette. And if it works for me, then I think it should work for you. Because I do not have very many makeup skills whatsoever. I'm still learning. So I'm going to dip back into Nudie and tap off. And then do the other eye. Just kind of putting some in my crease here. Trying to bring it up further because I know sometimes, because I have like hooded eyes, so sometimes it kind of disappears. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit further than what I normally would. Going to do that on both sides. I'd love to know what you guys thought of the swatches when you saw the swatches of this palette. Did you like it? Do you think that they're good? For me, I see there are some shades in there that are going to be a little bit difficult to work with, especially Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale is probably the worst shade in the entire palette. Other than that, I don't really think there are any shades that are like horrendous. But you guys tell me what you think of it. Let me know how you feel about it. I think we're up a little too high. I'm sitting on my foot, so let's get off that foot. Doesn't feel that great in the first place to sit on it. So now I'm going to, oh, sorry. I kind of just dropped my brush. Now I'm going to go back into the palette and we're going to go in with a different color. Let's see. I don't really know what I'm doing here. We're just kind of flying by the seat of my pants today. So let's do, let's go into Honey Pot. Let's do Honey Pot on the lid. Let's go ahead and do our lid shade. And now I just have a flat shader brush. This is actually it's a Rite Aid brush. It's not anything fancy or anything. So we're going to go into Honey Pot. I'm just going to put that right here on the lid. On this part. I do my eye makeup a little bit different than most people. I know that. But that's okay. As long as it gets done, that's all that matters. So yeah, we're just going to put a little bit of that on there. Now I need to build up my crease. I didn't really do like an outer V. So I'm going to do that. Clean off my little sperm whale brush that I figured out what this is called. It's called a sperm whale brush. It's really interesting. I'm actually going to go over here to a darker shade. Let's go over to Undercover. Let's do Undercover. And this does have a tiny bit of sparkle into it, but we're going to use it for the outer V anyway, because it's not enough sparkle to where I feel like it gives you a lot of fallout. You're going to have a tiny bit of fallout, but I don't feel it's so bad that you shouldn't use it for like this type of work right here, your outer V work. I think you can definitely use it for that. I really like the way that these blend. I feel like they blend really easily. There's not a whole lot of work here. You guys see that I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into it. It's just, they blend pretty well. So again, go over here. And then, I don't think I got enough on my brush. Put some on the brush again. And we'll blend this out a little bit better too. Right now we're just kind of placing the shadows, and then we'll go back and blend better. So there is that one. Now I'm going to clean my brush off and we're going to blend using the little sperm whale brush. See how good he can blend. Yeah, it's blending really well. See, you guys? Do you see any issues with the blending? I really don't. Trying to look a little bit straighter on into the mirror here, because I know that helps with hooded eyes. If you look a little bit straighter on, then you can kind of tell, like you leave your eyes open, then you can really tell if it's going to work well for you. It's going to come up far enough so that you're going to be able to see the work that you did. No point in doing all this work if nobody can even see it, right? But I think it blends out very nicely. So there is the outer V work. Now I'm going to pop a lighter color on the center of my eye here. I need to find another flat shader brush. I could have used the other one, but you know, why not dirty up 15 brushes? That makes more sense. So now I'm going to go back into the palette and I'm going to grab onto Satin Sheets. Satin Sheets is a very pretty pink. I think it's like a satin. It is a satin. It's a satin like texture is what I mean. So I'm just going to pop a little of that right here in the center. I like to make it very light in the inner part. Go back in and do a little bit more on the other side. I'm not even tapping this off because it's really not necessary to tap this color off. I don't feel so anyway. Now let's go ahead and blend everything all together a little bit more. So I'm going to go in with this Luxie brush. We're just going to blend everything outwards. This is how I typically do it, just kind of blend outwards. So you don't have any kind of lines that are like, you can tell like they're your lines. You don't want to see the lines. You want to make it all look very well blended. Clean off my brush and do the same thing for the other eye. And then now I'm going to pop a corner highlight and then do my brow bone highlight. And then I'm going to go off camera and finish up my makeup. And then we're going to come back on here and talk about the final thoughts on this palette. So we're almost done. Do you see how quickly this eye look worked out? I mean, to me, it's pretty quick. So I'm going to go up here to Poodle. And I'm going to put that onto the brush. And then I'm just going to tap that right here into the, what I think that's called like your tear duct. Tap that right there again on the side. And then I'm not going to clean it off, but then I'm going to go up to Pink Cheeks, which is a little bit, this is a matte shade. I don't like a very shiny brow bone highlight. I like it a little bit toned down, just enough to give it a highlight, but nothing that's like glowing. So I left a little bit of that sparkle on the brush though. Now let's go ahead and blend one more time and then we're done, guys. What do you think? Was it a super easy eye look? I don't think it took too long and I don't think it looks bad. So I'm just going to blend up a little bit further because the further I blend up, the better it's going to look on my eye shape. Everybody's eye shape is going to be different though, so this eye look may look differently on you if you try to make this look. And that is it, guys. that is all I'm going to be doing for this eye look. I'll come back on here after I finish the rest of my makeup, and then we're going to discuss my final thoughts on the palette, so just hang tight. Okay guys, I'm back. I finished my makeup. I finished putting everything on. I actually ended up using the shade Fingers Crossed in my lower lash line, and then I also used Kittens on the inner part of it. So I did finish up my eye look and I finished up my face. So this is what my makeup ended up looking like. And for me, I really love this eye makeup. I don't know about how you guys feel about it, but I mean, look at this eye makeup, how it turned out. I really like it. I think it's a pretty versatile palette. Now it's $59, as I said in the beginning. It is a $59 palette, and you can be purchase it at Ulta. I'm pretty sure Sephora has it, and then I think Too Faced also, you can purchase it on their website. So for me, I would say this palette is more for someone who either you don't mind having palettes that are gonna duplicate some of the other ones that you have. I don't mind that whatsoever because I like having everything all in one. To me, it reminds me a little bit of like the Lorac shadows, where they're the Lorac Mega Pros. That's what this style reminds me of. So you get everything all in one palette, so it'd be really good to travel with, so you don't have to worry about trying to find other colors to go with it. You don't have to take two palettes, you take one palette and you're good to go. The other thing I think this would be for is someone who doesn't have any of the Too Faced shadows. If you don't have any of the Too Faced shadows, I would say this is an absolute win. The only thing, like I said, is there's one shade in here I feel like is an absolute dud, and that is up here, the Fairy Tale shade. I feel like it's so chunky that it's really hard to work with. I think if you're going to work with that shade, you're going to have to use a glitter glue. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. I mean, that's my opinion on it. I just don't think that shade is very good. Other than that, I feel like the palette's really, really well. I have tried this on many different eye looks now. I've tried swatching it, I've tried wearing it, I've tried wearing it with a primer, tried wearing it without a primer. My preferred method is always with a primer, just because I do have dry eyelids, and I feel like that just makes the eyelids look a little bit better if I put a little bit of a primer on it, smooths it out some. But you do you. If you don't want to use an eye primer, I think it could work that way too. But I feel like this is definitely worth the $59. I mean, I'm really happy with it. I'm happy to have it. I'm happy to be able to use this. Like I said, I think you're going to have to go into the store and check it out for yourself. I don't think you should base your opinion off of what everybody else is saying. I'm giving you my opinion, but that's just one of however many other opinions are out there. Don't base your opinion off of just my opinion either. Go check it out for yourself. Watch other videos, see how it works for them, see if there are bad palettes. Maybe there really are bad palettes out there. I have heard that there are different formulations of this palette, but I mean, you guys saw the swatches, you saw the eye look. For me, it worked out really well. So I really do love this palette. So I would say it's definitely a 2 thumbs up. I'd say it's a 10 out of 10. Pinterest this idea. Pinterest this little palette here. Is that what she said? Who said that? Oh my gosh. I can't think of her name. But anyway, somebody said that and I thought it was pretty hilarious. Either way, I think this is a great palette and I definitely do recommend it. I think, like I said, I think you're not going to be disappointed with it, especially if you don't have any Too Faced shadows. If you do have Too Faced shadows and you're like, look, I still want to have everything all in one, I think it's a great palette. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope you found it a little bit informative. Maybe you might have learned something about the palette that you didn't already know. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'd love to know if you're going to get this palette, what your feelings are on it. Do you feel like it's a good palette? Do you feel like it's a bad palette? I'd love to know how you're feeling about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.